beat the drum and it'd bring rain. I'm beating it.
Yeah, you told him to do that, man. Why are you mad at him?
Because I said so.
Mouth. Get going.
All right.
Oh my god. There's so
Mind if I
much
take an hour
yelling.
off?
Take 2 hours. I just found something out, Noah. You know the only time I feel real dumb? When I'm talking to you.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't do a scene between Starbuck and Jimmy with a whole talk about Snooki. In the play version, Jimmy goes much more in depth about his conversation with Starbuck, but I was kind of hoping to actually see that interaction between them in this movie. But the only interaction so far is when Starbuck comes up and takes a drumstick out of Jimmy's hand. He's like, "What are you doing?" I kind of would have liked to see more conversation between them. I don't know why they didn't show that.
Listen, Jimmy. If you want to get yourself in hot water, all you have to do is lift that phone and call her right back. That's right, Jimmy. That's all you have to do.
Why the heck are you?
Hell of this.
Why are
I'm
you
just
through
agreeing
the
with you,
window?
Noah.
Just walk through the door.
And call her right back.
It didn't hit right when Noah was saying, "I don't want to run this family anymore." It doesn't hit like it did in the play version because we see at this point of the script is shortened, obviously, but at this point of the script, we get pockets of scenes between the dad and Noah, and they don't have the best relationship. And also they're fighting for power a lot of the time. Noah is constantly dominating the situation, the scene, the family, the whatever. And the father kind of takes a step back, but he always tries to push back against Noah. And so we see that constantly throughout Act 1 and into Act 2. And then when they have this particular scene, that line feels heavier. Like you actually do get to see Noah struggling with this family and with what's going on within the family. And you see HC not really doing his fatherly duty of leading the household. He kind of lets Noah do whatever. And I think in this version, I think the father is even more kind of pushed to the side than in the play. Like, yes, he does tell Noah what to do because now Noah is a pushover in this movie, but it doesn't help because now that Noah's kind of being pushed into the background, it feels like HC is pushed even more in the background. And so with that particular, those particular lines between Noah and HC, it doesn't hit the right way. It hits different. It's not as impactful as how they said it in the play version. Ooh. I'd be pretty confused too if I was outside that door.
Kinda late.
Wow, that was awkward. I think Lizzie's a lot more emotional in this movie compared to the play version, and that's saying something. Because I think in the play version, Lizzie was pretty emotional. She whined a lot, and she cried a lot. But in this movie, this girl takes the cake. I feel like every other scene, she's crying, and then the next second, she's angry, and then the next second she's goofing off, and the next second she's back to crying. It's just like a whole roller coaster, but it's so fast that I can't keep up. And golly, that whole scene, I mean, she literally did a tumble. Like, that was actually kind of impressive. I couldn't do that.
Sit down or something.
No, thank you. Just
Dude,
both
she's
move out of
trying
line.
to help you out. She's trying to make a connection
Fine.
with you.
About what?
Oh, not again. I think I know what's bugging me about this movie. Maybe it's just me, but a lot of these lines feel like they're not delivered well. Especially HC, the actor that plays HC, and the actor that plays File. It feels like they're just kind of saying their lines and not actually thinking about what they're saying. And even sometimes I think Hepburn, even though she is a great actress, I understand that, but it seems like a lot of these lines, it feels like she hasn't had a lot of time to think through these lines. Or maybe it's just the dynamics between herself and the other actors in the room, in the scene. They didn't have enough time to like go through the lines and go through the flow of the scenes and their dialogue. Because sometimes it feels like the scene is going way too fast, or they're delivering their lines way too fast. And then all of a sudden they slow down, but it doesn't feel natural. Sometimes I feel like the scenes that are going too fast should be slowed down, and the scenes that are going too slow should be sped up. Especially in the scene between File and Lizzie, like when she's trying to flirt with File all of a sudden. It's done so slowly, whereas I think in the play version that's done a lot quicker. And it makes more sense because she's starting to get all hysterical and just really like putting herself out there and doing something out of her comfort zone. So she's speaking fast and she's saying all these weird random lines like about grapes and about his bow tie and his teeth and all that. And because she's just going at it so fast, the actor File doesn't know what to do with that. He doesn't know. He's like, what the heck? We were having a conversation and all of a sudden she's acting weird. Whereas this actress does that part so slowly that I don't think it really read. And even the actor that's playing File, he's not really responding to it that much. I mean, he does respond by the end. He starts yelling at her and stuff, but it just didn't feel necessary. Like the whole speed of dialogue. Also, sometimes when they talk so softly, I think they should be talking louder, and when they're talking louder, I think they should be talking softer. They do the opposite of what I want them to do. They do the opposite of what I think they should be doing in this scene. And of course, it can all come down to personal choice, but I just don't think how they're delivering their lines makes a whole lot of sense. I did like the blocking though when File leaves, and then Lizzie is like just so terrified of what she just did, so mortified and embarrassed, you know. And then as she's trying to like find some sort of safety, all the men start like surrounding her, and so she's just kind of trapped in the stairs, and you could tell she's not doing well. And I thought that blocking was really well done, and the fighting was good too, and we get to see Starbuck again and see his reaction to the whole thing. Also, the whole situation again with Noah, how he talks about Lizzie being plain and then saying to his dad that it's his fault, and then getting all upset with Jimmy. Like, it doesn't hit the same as it did in the play version. The play version, once this whole fight happens, this whole explosion happens, it feels like the worst of the worst has happened. Like, everything is falling apart. Like, it felt really, really dark. Whereas here, especially with the music playing in the background, it just feels not as serious, not as dark. It's just not the same.
I've got to see things the way they are and the way they will be. I've got to start thinking of myself as I am.
I was literally about to talk about how I really like all the monologues that Lizzie has in this script. I really like how this actress is delivering them. She's really good. But then she had to go run off and dramatically wave the blanket away and have the wind catch her hair, and I don't mean to laugh at her being emotional. I'm not laughing at that. It's just a little too over dramatic for me, especially in film. Maybe in theater it would be better, but in film it just looks too much.
Jimmy meant to give it. Take it.
Thanks.
Please take it away from
Is that what
me.
you came out for? See, let me ask you. Are you pretty?
No! I'm plain.
Oh my gosh.
There's no such thing as a...
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at her pain. I'm really not. It's just dramatic. It's very dramatic. I think the whole message about Lizzie being plain is actually working in this movie compared to the play version, because in the play version, Lizzie, at least in my eyes, Lizzie did not look plain at all. She looked very pretty. So that whole topic about Lizzie being plain and simple and all that didn't fully land for me. Whereas in this movie, her looks are plainer, more simple. The idea that something that is so plain can still be beautiful is a really pretty message in my opinion, and I think that hits home in this movie because of the actress. Just because you're plain, simple, older does not mean that you're not wanted. She's got pretty hair. What the heck is going on? It's going in circles, okay. I guess that's good. At least it's going in circles. It won't hit anybody. So in the play version, I kind of cringed with the whole romance situation that happened between Lizzie and Starbuck, because It's just very obvious in the play version. He's a con man, and you don't know if what he's saying is true or not. And it felt like he was taking advantage of Lizzie and her vulnerable moments. Like I said before, the actor that's playing Starbuck is so much more genuine, and it seems like he doesn't have a whole agenda necessarily. He doesn't seem like a true con man. It seems like he actually wants to help this family, and everything he says actually feels like truth. It feels like it comes from a genuine place. When he talks to her that she is beautiful and that she needs to believe in herself and all this different stuff, like, it feels like it's actually coming from a genuine place. Like, he actually wants her to believe that about herself. And, you know, when in the moments that she doesn't believe in him, like, he's angry about that. He's actually very frustrated that she doesn't believe him at all. And so when they get to the moment where she finally accepts that this idea that she is pretty, and then he kisses her, I don't mind it. It's still a stranger, but it's not the same as in the play version.
All by my smart little self. I said, whoa! Yippee! Thank you, Pop. Your yippee is accepted. I don't believe a word of it.
Again, I'm surprised that they didn't show Jimmy and Snooki's whole adventure. In the musical, they have a whole song to go with it. And in the play version, Jimmy has a whole long monologue about it. And so I was hoping to actually see that scene in the movie, but they didn't show it at all. He just had a little mini monologue, and then they kind of went about moving along in the plot. In a film, it's better to show and not tell, so I'm surprised that there's certain things that I thought they would show that they chose not to. So I wonder why that was. I don't know if it's just because of budget or they wanted to stick with the play version as much as possible. I was just kind of hoping for more of that. Also, and I'm guessing this is a choice based on the director, they really took a step back with showing the relationship between the father and the two sons. I mean, in the play, there are so many scenes that go very much in depth about the three's dynamic and all the issues that go along between them. And they barely show any of that in this movie. And maybe it's because they decided, well, in the film, let's just focus more on Lizzie and Starbuck than anybody else. Let's just focus on their dynamic, which, again, is a choice. But it's kind of a bummer that we don't get a lot of in-depth conversation between the father and the sons. Because when we have scenes like that just happened, it just felt like the boys are just saying their lines just so we can move forward in the plot to get back to Lizzie and Starbuck. It just doesn't feel as raw as it did in the play. You boys aren't being subtle at all.
I'll have a look at that wagon, H.C.
And if you go out there and put one little dark shadow over the brightest time of Lizzie's life, I swear I'll come out after you with a whip.
I really don't like what they did with Noah's character, but now understanding that, I'm pretty sure what they were doing was kind of putting the family members in the background to focus more on Lizzie and Starbuck's dynamic. It's kind of a bummer because, again, when you have scenes like that, it doesn't hit as heavy, it doesn't feel as raw, because we don't know these characters as well. And also how the actors are portraying those characters, it doesn't feel... I mean, Noah just seems like such a pushover. Like, he seems like the complete opposite of what the play version was. The play version Noah was very strict, calm, firm, pessimistic. The movie version Noah is very much a pushover, happier, which is not a bad thing, but he is happier. He's not as cautious, he's not as careful. It's just complete opposite of what the play version was. Like, the whole gun part of it, like, was so tense in the play version, and we really got to see the power conflict between the father and the son. And here, the dad was like, no, you're putting that gun down. And the son is like, but I don't want to. And he's like, no, you're gonna put it down. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he puts it in his drawer. There was, like, little to no tension in that entire scene. This movie is very much lighthearted compared to the play version. Very much so.
Lizzie, you think I'll ever get what I'm after?
I don't really know what you are after.
I'm after a clap of lightning.
It seems like in this movie they gave Bill Starbuck a character arc. In the play version, it didn't really feel like Starbuck changed. It felt like he was kind of I forgot what the character type name is. But it felt like Starbuck kind of had a linear character arc. Like he was the same from point A to point B. He didn't really change, besides helping out a few folk. But internally, it didn't seem like he changed much. In this movie, they actually seem to have given Starbuck a character arc. Somebody who is a con man, but by the end of it, doesn't want to really be a con man anymore. This movie's version of Starbuck is just much more emotional and much more genuine compared to the play version. The play version, he was definitely a con man, very cunning, very conniving, very charismatic, all those things. But he was also very playful, and he didn't get emotional very easily. Except maybe in the end of the play, he did get a little bit emotional because he started connecting with Lizzie, I guess. But in this movie, he's emotional throughout the entire thing, whether happy, sad, angry. And I think because this Starbuck is much more genuine, it makes this relationship between Lizzie and him feel more genuine and more, like, I like it better.
Why don't you comb your hair?
I like it this way. I've got no more pins.
Look at my pretty hair.
But I've got something. What am I going to do? Pop, what am I going to do?
She's about to explode.
Well, whatever you do, remember you've been asked. You don't never have to go through life a woman who ain't been asked.
We're so thrilled for her. I actually felt pretty sad that he left. Like, yes, at the end of the day, he is a con man. But like I said earlier, he went through this whole arc that I think this version of Starbuck would be willing to change for Lizzie. Now, yes, he did say, like, you know, you'll be this person and you'll be able to do all these things with me. And, like, he's a dreamer, you know? And, of course, that's not something that she wants or needs. But for Starbuck's character, I think if, like, there was a sequel to this movie, I think he would change. I almost think up this whole version of, like, he met another girl and then he fell in love with that girl and then he actually does stay put and he actually does make a life for himself surrounded by the people and the things that he loves, because it sounds like he's never had a chance to, like, really sit down and really be present in the moment and really live life. They had this whole conversation about this idea of reality versus imagination. And in this movie version, they did the dialogue a little differently than the play version, of course, but I actually really liked how they delivered that whole idea, that whole concept in the conversation. And I think that conversation, we can see that really hit Starbuck by the end of this. And so I truly think that if there was a sequel, he would actually be thinking about that kind of concept and then come across somebody that he truly loves and finally understand this idea that there needs to be a balance between being in reality and being in your own imagination. It's okay to dream, but you also need to stay in reality too. Even though I kind of felt sad that he left, I don't think Lizzie and Starbuck would have worked out in the end because Lizzie's not a traveler. She's a homebody.
Got your hair down.
Yeah, she sure has changed.
She changed her hair. What is happening?
Give me my $100! Give me $100!
Give me money! So we started with Starbuck and then we ended with Starbuck. Definitely a different version from the play version. I mean, obviously it's a movie, but I mean as in terms of, like, genre and how they went about certain topics and the characters and all that. I think the play version has more to do with family and the movie version has more to do with romance. Because we focus so much on Starbuck and Lizzie, whereas in the play version we focused a lot more on the family dynamics that are going on. And I think I prefer the play version over the movie version. The movie was fine, it's not like I was bored or anything, but I definitely prefer going in depth about relationships, particularly when it comes to family. I think it's just more interesting. And also, it's really hard to sell a relationship when one of them is a con man. And I really just, in this movie, I just don't think they did justice with HC or Noah or even File. File just felt like he was kind of in the background most of the time. I mean, in the play version, he was kind of in the background too, but he was definitely a supporting character. And you definitely got a better understanding of the relationship between Lizzie and File, and I think at some point they would have gotten along sooner or later and probably got married. But in this version, they hardly had any scenes together. And then at the end of the movie, they all of a sudden start leaning towards each other and show any kind of romantic interest towards each other. Like, it just felt very forced. It did not feel right. So anyways, I'm glad I watched it. I thought this was a really interesting insight into this story. But I think that's all I have to say for now. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.